Hello, guys. How are we doing today? Welcome back to the Glue Guys podcast, episode 18, the Peyton Manning episode. Chad, why don't you tell the people how you've been this week?
Feeling good, feeling good. Just came back from a little family photo shoot. Been a family weekend all the way around, actually. I think Ethan might have some news he wants to share with the followers, but I do want to say I like that you're changing up the intro from every episode. Not sure if you're doing that on purpose or not, but keeping people on their toes.
I like it. I like it. Always got to keep the listeners on their toes. But yes, as Chad kind of alluded to, there was some big news in my household. All right, for this weekend, Arsenal did only get a 0-0 at home against Everton, so that was really the only thing that I really remember that happened this weekend. But it was all made up just no more than 15 minutes ago when City lost at home to United. So we might be getting onto that a little bit later. But of course, adding on to that, I did get engaged on Friday. So that was pretty big news. All the nerves finally are have surpassed me. So yeah, I'm definitely excited about not having to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, it is a weird feeling when you get that ring and then all of a sudden it's just like, man, you get a bit anxious and you're like, I haven't felt this feeling in a while or maybe even ever.
And you're like, I actually have to do this now instead of just like having the shit.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So we promise we won't turn this into engagement corner slash wedding podcast
Ooh.
because we know that's not what you guys are here for at all.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
might have to do some sort of corner here coming up, soon. That might be a new segment I'd like. But right now, I wanted to start off with a little bit of Heisman corner
Mm.
because college football is something that used to be very near and dear to me and Chad's hearts. That late 2000s to early 2010s type of time. I'd probably say from when Nick Saban won a national championship with LSU until about the first year of the college football 14 playoff was
Yeah.
about the prime time for me and Chad really caring like into every season, every moment type of thing. And one of the key parts of college football for a while is the Heisman Trophy. It's very significant, and people give it a lot more importance than it actually is. But it's something that for us fans to sort of sink our teeth into, and kind of like with the NBA MVP, every year it's contentious. There's always some reason why someone got robbed or something like that. And this year is no different. I've been seeing stuff on social media for months now, honestly, saying if Ashton Genty doesn't win it, it's rigged, and Travis
Yeah.
Hunter isn't
Oh yeah.
whatever. This, that, and the other. I think it's all bullshit. And I honestly don't know how people can really make an argument that Travis Hunter shouldn't have won it. I mean, he is the first true two-way player that we've had in college football since like the 50s, like
Yeah.
or 60s. Like,
Yeah, and we're not talking about Jabril Peppers taking a couple of snaps at Wildcat quarterback. We're talking about a guy who plays pretty much every single snap on both sides of the ball.
yes, and people keep saying stuff like, "Oh, snaps aren't a stat," da 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 da, and it's insanity because the only pass I would give people is like, if this dude was doing this, but he was not on anyone's radar as like a first round pick, I would be like, you know what, you're right. He's just like an all right corner and a pretty good receiver. You know what, you're right. But this dude's like a guaranteed top three pick in this draft. I mean, he's probably going to go number one, but I would just say guaranteed top three pick in this upcoming draft. And people are pretending that he's just like any other player in the country. It's kind of insane. I looked up some stats actually. I actually got some stats. 92 catches, 1100 yards for 15 touchdowns. 15 touchdowns, 14 of them receiving, one rushing as well. And then on defense, he has a forced fumble and 4 picks. Now, 4 picks doesn't seem like a ton, but let me just, compare it to his coach. Do you know how many interceptions that Deion Sanders had, the most he ever had in a season at Florida State? What's your guess?
At Florida State, yeah, I'm gonna say two. I would say two, maybe three.
He had five one in
Okay.
his
Okay.
last season at Florida State. So the people that are like, oh, he only has 4 picks, da 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 da. 4 picks isn't even nothing. Like Deion
Yeah.
Sanders, his coach, is probably one of, if not the best corner in college football history, and he only
Yeah.
had one more in his best season. And also, Chad, can you quickly explain to people why it's kind of hard to get interceptions if you're a really good corner?
Yeah, it's the Darrell Revis theory kind of, where eventually you get to the point where you're so good that the team stops even throwing to your side of the field, or your zone, or the guy who you're matching up against is just all of a sudden taken out of the game. So, and also like the interceptions usually come from riskier throws. So if you're definitely not making risky throws no matter
You're not
what.
throwing jump balls in the back of the end
Right.
zone to Travis Hunter.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes the 4 picks even more impressive that he had.
Exactly. So there's that, and then I kept seeing stuff about this record-breaking season that Ashton Genty has been having. So I looked it up, and I actually crunched the numbers. I did everything. I did all the research, and here's the list that I compiled for records that Ashton Genty has broken this year.
Oh God.
What'd you think about that list? If anyone isn't following, he hasn't broken a damn NCAA record. It doesn't exist. Not for yards per game, not for total yards, not for rushing touchdowns, not for total touchdowns, not for any of that stuff. So, like, I get it. It's cute to be like, oh, he's having this record-breaking year. And even the people that's like, oh, he gets taken out in the third quarter every game. Let me read off some of the powerhouses that he's played against this year. Georgia Southern, Portland State, Utah State, Wyoming.
Josh Allen, baby. He's
A,
still there, right?
a 3-win San Diego State team, a
Hawaii?
three-win Nevada team, who the crown in their footballing jewel is Colin Kaepernick,
Yeah. Well, the greatest sportsman of all time, allegedly.
and then his actual true comp within conference was UNLV, who was so good that their starting quarterback literally quit in the middle of the season.
I remember that.
And then again, he did have a good game against Oregon, so like it's not like he shied away in the big stage. So I'll give him that. But people are pretending that guys have never had insane seasons in Group of 5 conferences, and like they're just guaranteed to win the Heisman. There's only one. He's currently 4th in rushing yards in a season, or maybe rushing yards per game. And the only one above him that even won the Heisman Trophy was Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon was above him, and then the UCF running back from like the mid 2000s.
My boy Kevin Smith. I
Kevin
remember that.
Smith.
I
Yeah,
still remember him in that I think it was '06 or maybe '07.
I think it was
season,
'07,
something
the
like
season
that.
where everything went like burned to hell.
Crazy. Yeah. Okay, because that was like even further evidence that it was like one of the best seasons ever. But that dude, I mean, he was averaging like 200 yards a game. So Kevin Smith, shout out to him. I hope he's doing good. He had a short run with the Lions that went nowhere.
Exactly. So I mean, Ashton Genty, I'm not sitting here and saying he's horrible or anything like that because I know that's how people get on social media. It's like you either say someone's the greatest player of all time or it's a diss. But I think, Ashton Genty, really good player. I mean, he's probably going to have a decent NFL career, but let's not sit here and pretend that this dude's doing something that literally no one has ever seen before, like Travis Hunter did. And I think it's kind of a disgrace that people. So weird because I felt like all of social media was behind this whole Colorado movement thing with like Dion and Shador and stuff. But now everyone's being like, Travis Hunter isn't that guy. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
But I did see a decent comment on a post on Game Day today saying, so somehow they have the best quarterback, the best player, and the best coach, but yet they couldn't win the Big 12. They couldn't beat Arizona State. And I'm like, kind of fair, but
Yeah, it's difficult, and I've seen a lot of that Colorado. I don't know if it's pushback or if it's maybe the people that were always against them maybe are just more vocal in a situation like this. But I've seen a lot of that as well, and that was weird. Real quickly before we move on to the next topic, Kevin Smith in that 2007 season.
Here we go.
Well, first off, his total numbers: 450 carries, 2,567 yards. 8 games that season where he had over 30 carries in a game. 3 games where he had over 40 carries in a game. So that just shows the difference between 2007 versus 2024.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but if you have a good running back, teams are going to put more guys in the box. And if they do that, then that means you're automatically the Heisman winner. Like if the other team puts more guys in the box, then that means you're the Heisman winner. So I didn't know that. I'm glad that again social media was around to to inform you of that. But kind of getting on to our main topic of the day, me and Chad were talking on the phone the other day, and we were just kind of going back and forth about some things. And then we were like, you know what? Let's let the people know what our favorite and least favorite things in the Premier League are. Just the things that either week to week we're like, God, I hate this shit, I can't stand it, or like the reason why we tune in. So we each have compiled a list of 2 things we love and 2 things we hate about the Premier League. I guess I feel stronger about the things that I hate, but I have better examples for things that I love. Chad, why don't you, kind of going along with the theme of us and, what this podcast is truly about, why don't you start off with one of the things you hate the most about the Premier League?
Okay, I will. Now, we might have interpreted these a bit differently because we usually don't talk. We don't talk before the pod. We just kind of lay out the topics and then kind of go in our own direction, interpret it the way we want to. The thing I've hated the most in the Premier League this season is going to be the Wolves goalkeeping performances. It's something I've been on for a while. I've been tracking it since the first handful. First off, moment of silence for Gary O'Neill's tenure.
That, honestly, if you're watching the Premier League just for entertainment, that's the worst news of all time. He loved losing a 5-3 away.
Well, I mean, I'll give you some numbers for you since you just rattled off some amazing Travis Hunter numbers for us a minute ago. I'll show off. First 16 games of the season for Wolves, 40 goals allowed. That's 2.5 a game.
Oh my God.
That's 2.5 a game.
But what's the other number?
Well, the other number is that it's only from 27.8 expected goals allowed.
There we go. That's what I was waiting on.
It leads us to the goalkeeping part, which is horrible. Jose Sa started 9 games, minus 5.2 post-shot XG. And
which,
again,
if we're being generous, means that he conceded 5 more goals than he's supposed to based on the shot quality that is coming against him. No diddy.
Correct. Sam Johnston came in to replace Saw after the ninth game, I think, or has been playing recently. And he's like, hey, I got this. He started 7 games for them. 17 goals allowed in his 7 starts. Minus 3 post-shot XG
in
7
insanity.
starts. So between the 2 keepers, they're at minus 8.2. And the part that sucks about it is Wolves are a team that don't need help losing. You know what I mean?
They don't need help conceding goals.
Yeah, they're 17th in expected point differential. And I know I'm getting stats heavy, but it's really a microcosm of it, easy to explain the performances that we're talking about. They're the 17th ranked team on XG. So they're already horrible. And then with those goalkeeping performances that we talked about, plus, them not having their finishing boots on this season, surprise, surprise, has led to them being in 19th now. And I'll give myself just a touch of credit, and I'm not going to give too much because it's still only like halfway point. After about the first 3 match days, you gave me a chance to say, hey, do you want to switch Everton and Wolves for who do you think is going to be more terrible? And I was like, you know what? I thought about it for a second, but stuck with Wolves. So far to this point of the season, it's done well for me. But like we said, still over half of a season left to go. So,
yeah, Deitch has quietly done a good job of sort of recovering from that first 7 games. Because I remember going to CNU practices and telling, some of the players. I mean, I think on this podcast, I was like, they're literally already down. Because they had conceded, I think in like the first 4 games, they already conceded like 13 goals or something insane like that and lost every single game. Yep. And I was just like, I think they lost 3-0 at home to like a promoted team or something crazy like that. And it was just like, yeah, the season's over. Obviously, they got the result yesterday against Arsenal away, a 0-0. Just won 4-0 last week.
Sorry, it was Wolves, I'm pretty sure. Because it was like Wolves was already on the brink. And it was like, all right, this match will decide relegation, and it's like match week 5, and then Everton got the dick kicked out of them.
Yeah, and then and so I mean, right now I'm taking an L on it, but there's always time for Everton to get themselves back in that 17th, 18th chasm, and then getting a winner on the final day. I think this year Pickford's gonna actually have a howler in the last game just so he can score the winner that keeps them up. He always has to play the biggest hand in keeping them up. So I think this
Yeah.
year that's going to be it.
Well, he's definitely got the howler part down. That's for sure. He can do those.
Dude had a worldie against us yesterday, of course, but
Yeah, yeah. No, he's straight. He's weirdly good in big games. Is the funny part.
yeah.
But yeah. So Wolves goalkeeping horrible for me, but at the same time, I'm not mad about it because it's confirming some stuff that I had already thought about the team. Let's move on to yours, Ethan. But let's go positive. Something that you've
Oh
loved.
shit. Well, this is one that always like brings a warm feeling into my heart, and that's relegation mercenary players. Um, so I guess I went more overall, like things
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
the Premier League. Chad, it looks like I don't know, obviously his other ones, but
More
it seems
specific.
like
Yeah,
there's
they're all
more
more
specifically
specific.
about this season. But relegation mercenary players. Here's some of my favorites. Ross Barkley last season at Luton was he just comes in, gets to do literally whatever he wants. He's not even playing a position, plays zero defense. They just like their entire game plan was give him the ball and stand around and wait for him to either pass it to someone or shoot from 45 yards out. So that was fun. And then I like these two windows in the exact same window, 2017.
Yeah.
West Brom in the 2017 window brings in Kieran Gibbs and Oliver Burke for a combined 21 million pounds. Adds on Jay Rodriguez for like another 10 million pounds. Brings in Gareth Barry, who I think was 40 at the time,
Fair.
and then also somehow, some way, called up PSG to be like, hey, can we get Gregor Skrakowiak on loan? And then finished, I'm pretty sure, rock bottom. So that was fun. And then Stoke saw that window, and they were like, let me one-up you real quick. Brought in Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, your boy Bruno Martins Indy, Kevin Vimmer, and then Kurt Zuma and Hesse on loan. And also went down. So, I mean, like, those players that are just, like, from other leagues. I mean, Forest is kind of I guess, surpassed it now since they're not really in relegation type of conversations anymore. But they, for, like, the past 7 windows, have just brought in players that are, like, from the Brazilian second tier. And they just come in, play 3 games, walk around the pitch, and then you never see them again. So the new guy they brought in, I think his name is like Jota or something like that, and he has eyebrows that are kind of
Jota Silva. Yeah, Jota Silva.
He has eyebrows that are kind of like this, but like super thick, and he looks like a pound shop Grealish, which actually Grealish might be a pound shop Jota Silva at this point, but
Not really.
I
contributes to goals. Shit.
that's what I'm saying. So I really like those players that just come in. They're like, you know what? You offered me $100,000. I'm not going to try it all. We're probably going to go down, but I appreciate the money. See, and then then it used to be they go to like Turkey, but now they're going to Saudi. So I appreciate that.
Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are there any guys that come off that are off the top of your head that kind of fit that mold for this season? I have one in mind, and I feel bad because this guy is the butt of almost every joke that we have on this podcast when it comes to the Premier League.
A player Aaron Ramsdale is kind of
That's solid.
he's not even their starting goalkeeper anymore. So I think he's kind of almost has that locked up already, which is sad to say because I'm a big Aaron Ramsdale fan. But who is it that you were thinking of?
Well, Calvin Phillips is always the easy answer.
I forgot that he played for Ipswich. Is how bad it is.
He hasn't really been getting as much game time ever since he got that red card that we talked about, where I think they were 2-0 up.
Got sent off and lost.
Yeah, no, they were 2-0 up. I think when he came on, they conceded. Then he got sent off. Then they ended up losing the game. So, Calvin Phillips been a tough loan spell for him at Ipswich, continuing on from a tough loan spell at West Ham. So he's probably the most definition of that. But I agree with you. I think it is funny to just see a guy like, hey, I'm going to get a bag, and I'm not really going to care whether we win, lose, or what. But you brought up something funny with Forest, where they're weirdly in 2 conversations where it's like, you're talking about how they have a lot of these Premier League relegation mercenary guys, and it's like, I think I heard someone saying the other day, like, I think Forest are safe for this season. I think they're safe to stay up.
They're in
it's like
fourth.
safe, dude. They can make the Champions League right now. Like, what are we talking about? So it's weird when there is a team who's both in the relegation scrap and Champions League scrap at the exact same time. which I think is just great about
It's
this
impressive.
season.
Burnley pulled it off a couple years back when they
Yep.
finished in a Europa League spot. Sheffield's pulled it off
Well,
before.
Southampton had that run in the COVID season
Mm-hmm.
2019-20 where all of a
Hasenhüttl.
sudden, yeah, all of a sudden it was like if they have the ball bounce three different ways, they all of a sudden could have been like sixth. So it
Well,
does happen once a half decade.
I was telling my fiance yesterday. I was telling her it was like some football quiz show on TikTok, and they said, these three teams have conceded the most goals in one game in Premier League history. How many was it? And I was like, oh yeah, 9. And
9.
then I turned to her. I was like, not only has Southampton conceded 9 goals in a game, they did it twice in 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah, that was tough. That was tough for them. But
And then I was still asking Hutt to win the whole time, but then he eventually got the sack. It was sad. Let me, I guess, keep the positivity and say with the things that I love about the Premier League. I guess you'll kind of see a through line with my loves, and it's like really ironic love to where it's not even something that's like fun or enjoyable. It's just fun for me as like an outsider, and that's just transfer flops.
well, I wouldn't say an outsider. We've seen that Pepe move.
That Pepe move is 100 times better than any of these, and one person is actually I'm going to add him onto this list last second. So Anthony to United is just like the classic one. Me and Chad talked about this last night on the phone. The Romelu Lukaku being able to pull it off twice is like out of control. Like those are Hall of Fame numbers. Being able to be the biggest flop striker in Premier League history twice, that's impressive. Sancho, another one that's just like. And then me and Chad also joke about this all the time. He dribbled past like 4 people on Dortmund's Champions League run to the final last year, and then all of a sudden people are pretending like, see, it's Ten Hag. And now he's back to being a backup at Chelsea, so that's nice.
No. The Fabrizio tweet that I saw literally right before we started recording didn't say shit about the rest of the Chelsea squad. The tweet, Jadon Sancho starts again for Chelsea, and
Shout
then it
out.
has their 11 listed.
Love it.
So I don't know what, like, whoever this dude's media guy is literally needs to have the biggest pay raise in human history. So didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just had to get that in.
No, you're good. I love that. And then one of the more ones that gets forgotten just because of how little he actually played for this club is Big Drinks, Danny Drinkwater. I think it was for like 35 million or 40 million to Chelsea. That was incredible. Dude played like 5 times in the league for him. And then the one that I think doesn't get counted as a flop, but I still count it as one, definitely Paul Pogba.
To United, yeah.
Yeah, to United. He kind of falls under the same camp that me and Chad talk about with like Neymar, where it's like the player itself probably wasn't a flop. Like he still was a good player, but he just didn't reach the heights that he was signed to do. Like Pogba,
The
was signed.
performances with the team.
Yeah, Pogba was signed to be like that statement, like we're back competing for the league now, and like we're either going to win the league or the Champions League with this guy. Similar with Neymar. That's not a Premier League one, so I'm not going to bring that up. But I mean, Grealish also. You're in here now. It's now been 45 games since he scored a goal, so I really appreciate that from him.
I was disappointed you didn't say him earlier, quite honestly.
I mean, I was scared when he came on against United. I really was. I thought they were going to get back in the game after he came on, but alas, it wasn't to be. But I just love a good flop because I think now I've consumed enough soccer over the past probably like 12-ish years that you can kind of see it from a mile away now. Like you can see the guy that's like Italian defenders, for example. You can just tell like they have these great systems in front of them in Italy, and they have a very defined role, and all they have to do is like these 1 or 2 things good, and they're good defenders. Then they come to the Prem where the manager's sometimes just like, hey, we're playing a 4-3-3. We're not going to have a DM in front of you. Your left back is going to be actually a converted left winger, the guy you're playing next to. And then the guy on the other side of you, we just bought from the Belgian Pro League. I say we just bought from the Belgian Pro League to be actually an 8, but he's going to play center back for us just because I have this feeling right here. So good luck. Try not to concede anything.
Are you describing Ange Postecoglou's view of the game?
Archie Gray, man, him getting some minutes at center back kind of lights me up. But Big Ange, I can't criticize him because he plays his football, so that's more important than actually winning games or getting points.
Gives me the original smile, so that's all that matters.
So why don't we hear? Since we got both of my loves, why don't we get your second hate actually? So then we can flip roles a little bit.
Okay, and this is, I will say, as I was kind of saying at the beginning, haven't been at the crib watching any sports today, so did not get to watch the thrilling Manchester Derby that Ethan said was actually a pretty good game. So I'll have to go back and watch it at a later date, or maybe right after we record. The more I think about it, I have a completely unfair hate already. Um, Ruben Amorim's formational fit for some players on the team
You mean the two
just
that got
doesn't.
left out?
Well, and not like I'm gonna say this, Rashford. Like if I'm in the United brain trust, like the hierarchy at United, and I'm the people kind of making this decision of who the next manager is going to be. I'm not really concerned with Rashford. Like he's one of the people where it's like he needs to be good. Like he just needs to be good or he's going to get sold. Like it's not like we need to get him in a great environment, put him in a perfect position, anything like that. He's at the age where he's just either going to perform or he's going to get sold.
At the age.
Yeah, 21 for the seventh year in a row.
Yeah. So yeah, and we kind of talked about that a couple episodes back with our United rebuild. That it's kind of make or break time for Rashford. So are you? Is
Yeah.
your point more? You don't like Amarim's system for this United team, or just for those specific players in general?
Just two guys very specifically who I don't think it makes sense for, Garnacho and Menu. And these are the two guys who I feel like if you are in the United Brain Trust, I feel like you should be thinking about those two guys more than I mean, I would say those two and Hoyland. Like every decision you make should be what is best for those three guys. And also another guy who I don't think this formation is great for is Bruno Fernandez, who is another guy who you at least have to consider when you're looking at the short to medium term future of this team.
Okay, so I kind of get. I don't really. I don't know if I agree. Like, can I get a little bit more specificity as to what that means? Because I think that,
Yep.
especially in a 3-4-3, I think that that would actually give Garnacho more freedom as one of those front three, and then
Yeah.
Mainu, he's more of an all arounder, I think, than people like to portray him as. So I would think kind of having a destroyer next to him, but still have him have some ball progressing and winning duties, I think would kind of suit him.
Yeah, so Garnacho, I think it's because his best work is when he can do kind of reminds me of like Vinny in his early years, where the best work you're going to get from them is when all the play is maybe on the right hand side and you get that big switch to isolate him one on one with a guy on the left.
Hmm.
I feel like now Garnacho, when he's playing, and obviously he was left out of the Derby today, he's being asked to play a little bit further inside, which I think is something that could be great for his long term development because I think once like I've seen it with Vinny firsthand, and not to compare everyone to him because it's not like everyone's going to develop at that same rate, but as he's gotten better and better, he's slowly gotten better the further inside he gets on the pitch
Right.
to the point where now he's actually able to play almost as like a
Center
false nine in
forward.
some
Yeah.
yeah, he's able to play as a false nine in some spots. But I don't think Garnacho's at that point in his development. Like I still think he needs to be wide, creating from wide, and that's where the wing back, is taking up a lot of space right now in Amarin's system. And then the Mainu one, I agree with all you said about him being an all rounder, but to me, an all arounder is someone who I want playing in a midfield three. Like in a two. Also, I just don't think, and this might sound weird because he's young, but I really don't think Mainu is athletic. Like he's not really, and in a two man midfield, like
He's
you
kind
have to be
of.
able to.
This is gonna sound insane, and when I'm probably gonna post this clip just to get engagements, but uh,
At the
I honestly
29-minute mark.
I think his physical profile most reminds me of Andres Iniesta. Like he has those
Wow.
short, quick bursts. He's very good horizontally in
Yeah.
short bursts, but he's not
Yep.
fast. He's not strong. Like he's strong when he's standing still and you can't knock him off the ball, but he's not like
Yep.
someone that can throw his body in front of you and win it or anything like that. His physical profile most reminds me of Andres Iniesta, so I do agree that he's not physical probably enough. So that is something interesting that I'd like to see. But another thing though is that I think there's actually so much protection for that second midfielder role that he might be able to
Yeah,
get
you
away
have the
with it.
back three.
Like
Yeah,
Ugarte is not really getting forward at all. The entire back three just stays. It's not like any of them enter. And the wing backs, they got some hard work, some motherfucker outside like wing backs that are just going to literally sprint up and down the pitch. So I think he might have enough
enough
protection to
cover.
where
Yeah,
it's just like, hey, we need you to progress the ball with on the dribble and with your passing, and we're going to expect you to defend, but we don't need you to be like like Leon Goretzka in there, just being like covering all the
yeah.
ground, being the most athletic guy on the pitch type of thing.
Yeah, and see that's honestly a great point because I think of Prime Goretzka as like the perfect guy for like a midfield too,
Hmm.
almost because exactly like what you said, he can honestly be a physical demon in both boxes and he can cover all the ground you need. Put that next to a destroyer and that's like a perfect two-man midfield in that type of system. And I just don't think Mainu will ever be either of those roles, even though I love the player.
Yeah,
So
that's an interesting one too because
yeah,
you made an amazing point about like when clubs have young players
yeah,
that they need to focus their like system kind of around those young players. Like a good example again, I'm always going to bring it back to Arsenal because that's what I'm most familiar with.
Arteta.
Arteta, he kind of looked at it in like 2020, 2021. He was like, Pepe is probably better than Bukayo Saka is right now, but I'm going to give Saka all the minutes so that we can kind of bring him up through together. And like,
It's so funny. I don't, and not to cut you off, but it's so funny you said that because I swear, as I was thinking about it, that was literally the exact thing that I thought of was Arteta giving those minutes to Saka when he's probably wasn't ready to play every single minute or close to it as an 18-year-old or 19-year-old and all that stuff. And guess what? It's not like the team was great either, but it allowed him to develop. Now all of a sudden you have a cornerstone. Now all of
mm,
a sudden you have a couple cornerstones, and then you can fill in around that. And now look at Arsenal, who have a really good team.
even people like Saliba, who was good when by the time he started playing for us, but wasn't like quite what he is now.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Emil Smith Rowe, who was part of that kind of original project, but then had to be moved on. Ainsley Maitland-Niles, people like that, where it was like we'd rather grow with you guys than give it to these people who might be like we'd rather finish eighth and get better than finish sixth and not basically.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I wonder if you know, Smith Rowe is kind of the perfect name, but because I just wonder, like thinking about Garnacho and Mainu, like right now it'd be crazy to say either one of those guys are like the Emil Smith Rowe of the project, but like in 2019 or 2020, it was crazy to say Emil Smith Rowe was going to end up as a guy who got moved on to Fulham for like 30
Peanuts,
million.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it is possible, and I will say if Garnacho is available any club in the world should just immediately go after him. I don't care if you have five left wingers; you should just get him.
Yeah, I mean, me and Chad pretty well documented are very big fans of Alejandro Garnacho. I mean, the stuff that's been going on apparently about him like leaking team news and stuff like that. It's just like I don't mean to go unk status on everyone, but it's like he's what 19, like
20, yeah,
he's an idiot probably more than likely, but that doesn't mean he's going to be an
uh,
idiot when he's 30. Like it's not indicative of his long term. And now if he continues to have stuff like this and he's having like he's actually getting arrested and he's doing this other stuff. Like that's when it's like, all right, character might have concerns, but it's like if he's just pissed off that he's not playing and he's texting his friends about it, and then his
yeah,
friends are like posting it on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, then it's like, what's even going
yeah,
on?
yeah. Exactly. It's like it reminded me of. You remember that clip a couple years ago where it was Kareem Benzema talking to Mendy, and he was saying that Vinny Jr. was selling the team, or he was like going against the team because he was playing so shitty. It made me think about like that ended up becoming like major news, and I'm like, could you imagine how many times that's said or something like that is said? Like, just think about the teams you've played
Played
on
on,
and
yeah.
the teams we've played on. Like, you could very easily coming out of halftime, man. I swear Chase is playing for the other team. We're 12-on-10 right now, or something like that. So
That's why
it's
it's
it's just very
hilarious.
weird.
Yeah, like seeing other people, it's like, dude, can you believe what he said about his teammate? I'm like, have you ever played a
Yeah,
sport before? Like,
yeah. And
like
look, obviously you've played at a much higher level than myself, but I feel like once you like the high school scene is similar to college. It's just college is a lot better.
right.
So yeah, and then pro is just obviously even that much better than those guys.
Yeah,
So
it's like
it's
imagine if
very
every
weird.
single time you texted your friends about how pissed you were at a coach or at another player on your team, it got posted on Twitter, and then everyone
Yeah,
was like, "I can't believe you said this." Like you've definitely done that before. So
yeah,
I'm not raising huge concerns about Garnacho's attitude or anything like that because, especially considering their club captain might be the worst of any of them. Do you have? Let's go with your loves. All right, let's start with your first love.
I'm gonna stick to just one love because the other one I'm like,
Oh,
I
love.
wasn't as sold. Yeah, right. Um, I love Villa's ability to balance the Prem and Champions League this season. Now, I'm not. Before the season, I was not sold on Villa's ability to. I wasn't really sold, I guess, on their recruitment, their summer recruitment,
Hmm.
and really not necessarily improving the starting 11, but improving their overall depth and the amount of guys that they could bring on to change games in the second half or stuff like that. But so far, they've made it work, man. They're sixth in the Prem, and a justifiable sixth too. Like I mean, they're sixth in expected goal differential as well as sixth in the table. So like, that's a really encouraging sign when the underlying numbers match up with what the actual results are. That's sustainable or that proves sustainability or should. And then in the Champions League, I mean, they're fifth right now. They had a great win against Bayern. Like, looks like they could really finish in that top eight. They've got Monaco and Celtic left to play. So Emery's ability, and another thing is Emery in the past has been criticized for his inability to juggle league and
Yeah, he'll just
European
do well in
competition.
Europe and then
Yeah,
suck ass in the
exactly.
league.
Exactly. So now I'm really happy with that. But the same caveat that I've said with all the other ones, we are only halfway through the season or just about. So far, I'd say he's done a good job of those.
I love that. Yeah, because I was big on Villa. I think in our preview, I think I finished. I
Yeah,
think I picked them to finish in the top six.
yeah. You were definitely higher on him than me.
I vividly remember you being like basically Chelsea and Villa were basically flipped in each of our predictions. I think you were like Chelsea are definitely going to finish in the top six, and I was like Villa's definitely going to finish in the top six. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
right now I'm getting my ass kicked kind of with the Chelsea part of my prediction, but it's okay. We still got half the season for what's his
Hey
face to get
man,
involved.
I had United third before the year and Liverpool fifth. It's okay.
Oh, it's okay. We still have like 6 more months for Ted Bowley to get involved and be like, you know what? Let's
Yeah,
cash in on Cole Palmer right now.
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, many people forget, but Tottenham was literally top of the table at the start of January 2024.
Did they
And
finish
now,
top?
no, I don't. I think that would have been talked about if they did, but
Hmm.
nah, unfortunately not. So Villa, yeah, love them. Actually, just love watching the team too. Like the team is so much, and we pointed this out after like the first two games. The team is so much more athletic than I think any team Emery has ever coached before,
Yes.
and maybe that's part of the growth that he's had, where now he's able to perform well in the league and Champions League, where he's just got better athletes, maybe guys who he can the style that he wants to play. It's maybe easier for them to play that way. So therefore, they're able to keep high levels, all the way around. But I've been really impressed with him. Been really impressed with them this season, and really impressed with like the fact that Yuri Tielemans played the second most minutes for him. Like
Hmm.
I never or not never, but I didn't think he was going to be like a guaranteed, stalwart for them, something like that in their midfield. Yeah, well, look, hey, you get some right, you win some, you lose some,
And they
but
have a deep ass squad too. Like if you're just looking at
yeah,
their squad, like there's
yeah,
like I'm looking at it on Wikipedia right now, and it's like two entire pretty long columns, and like all these players can legitimately play in games. It's not like they
mhm,
have 15 players that you want to play, 4 players that it's like, if I'm forced to play them, then cool. And then like the rest are just academy kids and like people that suck ass. Like guy like John Duran, he's been pretty well publicized about this year by his ability to come off the bench, but like he's a legitimately good player. Even
yeah,
backup goalkeeper like Robin Olsen, like you don't feel bad about putting him on the pitch. Guys like Leon Bailey and
absolutely,
Jacob Ramsey haven't had their best of seasons, but you know that they're at least talented enough to contribute if they have to. And Even guys coming through like Phil Lejeune, like
Yeah, he's
really,
actually had some moments where he's looked okay.
he's had moments, and it's like, you know what, we're not going to be able to, you know, rely on him play to play every single play, but
Yeah.
we're going to be able to rely on him to do some stuff every once in a while, which is for someone like that is probably good enough. So yeah, I like
Yeah.
Villa too.
And the crazy thing is their summer signings haven't even hit really. I mean,
Nope.
Matson started I think like one game, 2 games for them.
Yep.
Onana's been good and he's played, but he's been hurt actually at certain points. So
Yep.
really exciting for them. Really exciting for them. Let's move on to your. I think you've got some hate, some things that you hate coming up. So let's get negative.
I definitely got some hate. So I think the thing, and I talked to Chad a little bit about this on the phone yesterday. Football Twitter has ruined my life,
Yeah,
like truly.
yeah,
It got so bad yesterday.
Made a big call. Made a big call.
I just deleted the app off my phone. I couldn't take it anymore, and it honestly wasn't even things about the Arsenal game from yesterday because I can take that if we have a shit game. I mean, I was pissed off about it too. So if people want to banter us about it, I get it. But it's like the amount of stuff I see that's just like indefensible. Like I told Chad about the one I saw where it was, like I saw a tweet. Someone said, rank Lamal, Saka, and Salah, and like the top.
Yamal.
Yeah, Lamal. Yeah, Lamine Yamal. So I just call him Lamal. Lamine Yamal, Saka, and Salah, and then like the top reply, which had like more likes than even the tweet, was like, Yamal is so clear of these two guys; they shouldn't even be in the same conversation. And I was just like taken aback. Like I didn't even know what to think. I was just like, this dude. I've been telling people how good Saka is for 4 years now. And just now, like literally during this season, people are like, you know what, this guy's probably he probably might be world class, maybe.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, Lamine Yamal has had like a really, really good 6 months. It's like, oh yeah, definitely best player in the world for sure, 100%. And this dude Salah, I think I was telling Chad yesterday again. I was like, I honestly think this dude has a legitimate claim to be the best forward in the world over the last 10 years. And he somehow is getting roped into this conversation with a 17-year-old. Like, again, I'm respecting every single thing that Lamine Yamal is doing, and especially for his age, it's something that I've certainly never seen at the level that he's doing it. But I just can't throw him into that conversation when so much of being in that conversation is built off of what you can do season after season. Not saying that he's, a one-season wonder or anything like that, but just I need to see you consistently putting up, double-digit goals and assists every year. Definitely on pace to do it this year. I need to see you have performances that not only are within your team, but are actually making your team better. And that's the thing is like everyone's saying, oh, Barcelona's been amazing this year and da-da-da-da. It's like, exactly. This dude Saka was trying to do shit when Arsenal was horrible.
Terrible.
Dude Salah was like taking Liverpool teams with like Nat Phillips and that other light skinned dude.
Kabak.
Yeah, like through and like winning the league with them or like almost winning the league. Like I need to see a lot more before I just start crowning your ass. Okay. And just the inconsistency of takes too. Like one time, it'll be all about numbers and this dude didn't score enough goals. And then the next moment it's like, hey, but how did he make you feel when you watched him play?
Original smile, man. I'm telling you.
Like Eden Hazard is just like incredible. I've actually seen a lot of Eden Hazard hate recently, which I love. But it's just like one moment it's goals and assists don't matter. Eden Hazard was so good if you watch football, and then it's like this guy's really good. It's like well then why doesn't he score goals? Why doesn't he have assists? And then the rings culture is worse somehow in world football than it is in the NBA. It's insanity. As soon as someone wins the Champions League, they're automatically the best player in their position. As soon as someone wins the Euros or the World Cup, they're automatically the best player in their position. There's no doubt about it. Oh, you can't say that someone's better than Lisandro. Lisandro just won the World Cup. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Are we being serious right now?
Yeah. No, it's I mean, look, Emi Martinez has been living off of winning the World Cup and then the Copa America for like literally 3 years. I mean, he lets in some of the worst goals that I've ever seen and has some of the biggest howlers and then does shit like winning was it the Copa? Or no.
The Yashin Award.
Yeah, there you go, the Yashin. Cope is for young
for
player. I
this year,
apologize.
which is
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
outrageous.
Yeah, like I mean, is he a guy who most teams would probably accept as a starter? Sure, but if that's the best I can say about him, that dude shouldn't be in the conversation for the best keeper of the
I
year.
don't even know if he's one of the 5 best goalkeepers in the league.
Oh no. Well,
Like, it's close, at least. That's what I'm saying. If you have to think about it for more than 3
yeah,
seconds, he's
yeah,
probably not the best
exactly.
goalkeeper in the world.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Like,
fair. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. So I do have to ask: is the Twitter deletion, is this a permanent move, or is this like something where it's just like you need some space apart from it?
I'm definitely going to go running back because it does provide me with entertainment a lot of times. And
Yeah.
honestly, there's some times where I need some either confirmation bias or I need to see what other people are saying. Like, I'll be watching, like,
Yeah.
United City, for example, and I'm like, I'll see a penalty shout and then it won't get called. And I'm like, let me see
Is
what
this
Twitter
not
has to
happening?
say. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
everyone's like, that's a Stonewall pin. I'm like, okay, I thought I wasn't crazy, but I just needed to make sure. But sometimes it goes against me because, of course, when I'm watching Arsenal, everyone fucking hates us with all their heart. And it'll be like this dude, like Martin Odegaard, will literally have his kneecap sawed off in the middle of the pitch. Or sorry, in the opposition penalty area, and then it's like, that's the softest thing I've ever seen. No way, that's a pin. Ha ha ha. No, where's your Champions League? Give them the cry Dior. And I'm like, all right, fuck this, I'm out.
I'm telling you, the cry Dior is something that you've referenced multiple times on our phone calls. That I think is up there with La Mickey
I
for
just
best
can't
memes.
wait until the day where we actually win a Champions League or a league. It's because it's going to happen eventually. When I do, I'm going to have a rampage. Um, I mean, Calafiori will be the best defender in the world. David
Yep,
Raya, you can't say that there's a better goalkeeper than him because he won the Champions League.
yep,
You can't say that Rodri's better than Rice. You just can't because
yep.
which one of them just won the league? Because those are the takes that I see all the time. It's like Foden has 4 leagues. You know, Cole Palmer won the Champions League. It's like, are you
Yeah.
shitting me right now?
Yeah.
Like, dude,
Uh,
Calvin Phillips even won the league in that damn team and the
yeah,
UCL. So like, fuck, what are we
exactly.
doing?
Yeah. Calvin Phillips, trouble winner. I mean, like that's the thing. Like it's so crazy. Like and I think soccer has it even worse than any other sport. Where I was actually looking at some stuff in preparation for this, just about people's form and stuff, and I'm like, man, you could spin like the last five for a team like in so many different ways where you
Mhm.
could be like, I mean, let's say you win one, lose one, draw three, just in a 5 game span. You could say only one win in five, or you could literally say
One
only
loss in
one loss.
5.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
When
Or
anyone says
unbeaten.
unbeaten, when anyone says
Yeah,
unbeaten
exactly.
in a month, it's like
Yeah.
all time stuff.
So I just think the sport overall is just so.
Subjective.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's honestly crazy to say, but it's so much more. It's like a combination of regular sports and figure skating, where it's like, yes, it is about the final stat line and the final score line, and I do subscribe to that. But then at the same time, there's like this whole other argument you could make. We bring up the XG and the XG differential and all that stuff, and then there's also like that, like you said, the original smile type of people who I think are just straight up wrong, but who are just like, oh man, how did he make you feel? Like, the European lad, a guy on Twitter, shout out, always talks about, oh my God, Pedri versus Bellingham. Like, one of them makes you fall in love with the game, and the other one is Bellingham. It's like, I fall in love with winners. Like, I don't give a shit
I
about
fall in
friendly
love when my
tournament.
team wins 3-0 at the weekend, or when we draw
Yeah.
3-3. Uh-oh.
Hey, that was a good Rio side.
Yeah, so I so agree. Me and Chad are normally fairly aligned with like what we care about in sports, but
Yeah.
also like the nature of football like just makes it so much different because like in basketball, in the NBA, there is one goal. Everyone has one goal, and that's to win the championship. Like
Hmm.
like at the end of the day, that's every organization's goal. Ipswich didn't come up this year and it's like, you know what? If we don't win the league, fuck. Like they didn't. They are never going. Like none of their fans are never going to be upset that they're not competing for the league ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Never. At no
Exactly.
point are they going to be not upset that they aren't competing for the league. City like City before the takeover. Like I've seen legitimate City fans, and there are one or two out there. the bald guy that's like the social
Yeah,
media
yeah,
guy for him, and he's like, I grew up just praying that we could win an FA Cup. So
yeah.
like,
I remember that interview. I saw that.
so seeing us, do what we've done, like it's been the best time of my life. And I'm like, you know what? That's legitimate, okay? Because if you would have asked a City fan in 1999, it's like, what is your honest dream for Man City? They'd probably
Yeah,
say, like that guy, win one FA Cup once.
yeah.
And like that's such a different thing. Like, how are you going to tell that fan or that fan base, like, oh, Rodri isn't that good? It's like, dude, I used to have to watch like literally Michael Johnson, who predates even me. I used to have to like watch Michael Johnson, come into this team and be absolutely awful week on week, even though we spent however much money on him. And Jack Rodwell, we have to watch
These
them.
are people I've never even heard of.
We had to watch them stink up the league, and now we're consistent title contenders, and actually we're pissed off when we don't win the league. So how are you going to tell that fan that like that their player isn't the greatest or whatever? But yeah, football Twitter in general is so inconsistent. Rings culture is out of control. And then my last hate is the freaking what if machine of players from playing for teams near the bottom of the league that gets they're actually better than that player, or if these players switch teams, this guy would be better. And let me give you an example.
Yeah, perfect.
Everybody, for like literally basically ever since he entered the league, oh, Eberici Eze should be at a bigger club. If Eze was playing for Arsenal, he'd be able to do this. Or if Eze was playing for United or City or whoever, he'd be able to do this and that. He's actually better.
I've seen that.
He's actually better than Jack Grealish. If he was playing for the same team, then he would be able to do da 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 da. It's like, you know, as much as we hate to admit it as fans, we don't know better than these people that do this shit for a living. Like
100%.
Pep isn't just looking at like Jack Grealish and Eze and like, fuck it, flip a coin. We're gonna bring one of them in, the other one screw him.
Yeah.
Like it's like they clearly evaluate these players, and it's like this dude isn't at our level. For the longest, you know who this player was for the longest time? Same club.
Oh, Zaha. Yeah.
Zaha was this guy to a T.
100%.
It was like, oh, get him to a bigger club. He's so good. He scored 10 goals for Palace last year. He needs to be at a bigger club. And it's like, well, no. Like, clearly he doesn't, or else he would be. Like, if he needed to be at a bigger club, then he would find a way to be at a bigger club, or another club would find a way to bring him in.
Yeah, and I think part of it was also like because he had played at United previous to that, then it was always like this idea like, hey, he can still
He's becoming the player
perform.
he's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. He can perform at that level. He knows what it takes to get there. Now he can go do it. And it's like, it's so funny because it's something you were just talking about, like, or you were joking about a minute ago. It's like, all right, link to top six club, link to top six club. Oh shit, he goes to Galatasaray. So it's like,
Do you know who he plays for right now?
yeah, he's on loan from Galatasaray at Lyon, right?
Yeah, and they're in a really good situation. So I think that says, that he's like right up there.
I'll tell you what, Lyon hasn't been a half bad team this year. Financially, they're literally in ruins.
I say they're going to be a really good team too when they're playing in the Championship Nacional next year.
Well, it sucks because they're probably going to have to sell whoever their three bet. They're going to have to sell Cherki, Malik Fofana, and then
You know who's quietly going to get a big ass move. Someone's going to take a flyer on this guy.
from Lyon.
Yeah.
God, I mean, I'm thinking of someone serious, but look on your face seems like you're picking someone.
Oh no, I'm being serious. I'm being 100% serious, but it is funny still.
Well, Maxence Kakare will 100% get a move. Is that who you were thinking of?
No, Lacazette's going to get one final move. He's going to get one.
Barca need to sign a backup striker.
Yes.
They will 100%. Like Barca, more than anything, they just love saying we signed a guy on a free. Doesn't matter if he ever plays for him. Hint Sergio Aguero. Or like it doesn't matter how good he is. But as long as they can say they signed someone on a free, that's all they give a fuck about.
Well, also, I mean, kind of, I guess, alluding back to my point about football Twitter is that he's going to go there, score 2 goals in 2 games off the bench against, like, the 2 worst teams in the league. And then it's going to be like, oh, shit, Lacazette back to his form, da-da-da-da-da. It's like, no, that's not how it works. I mean, Danny Olmo, he found his form, and now you see what he's doing.
Danny Olmo.
But like, kind
Hey,
of to
man.
expand on that point about those players, like I got some other examples here. On top of Zaha and Eze,
Mhm.
Calvert Lewin got those shouts for the longest time when he was still a
Oh
pretty
yeah.
young forward at
Even
Everton.
even now, you still see it where it's like Arsenal could sign him on as a budget signing in
He's
January.
horrible.
Juve as the Vlahovic replacement when Vlahovic goes to Arsenal. It's like, all right, whatever.
Ward Prowse has gotten these shouts for a long time, even though he has
No,
literally no discernible footballing skills apart from free kicks.
no.
Um, and
Well, I mean,
then
then he got his move to a big club, a club that was too big for him in West Ham, and now this dude had to go on loan to Forest.
yeah, I mean that
So
says. I mean, he got his big move. It was to West Ham, and they were like, "Yeah, you're not good enough to play for us in 15th."
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and then one that's been getting it more recently that I kind of see, but is definitely going to fall into this camp a year or two down the line is Christian Norgard. I think from Brentford. Really, ever since they came
Hmm.
up, like I'd probably say around 2022, 2023 time was like peak of him being like. Because then there's always these stats, these like magical stats. That's like
Yeah.
who's actually one. I mean, Mikel Marino actually, funnily enough, is the guy that was the king of these stats about 6 months ago. Is like, who's actually won the most duels in the Premier League this year? Christian
Oh yeah,
Norgard.
the duels winner.
Do you
The
know who
duels winner.
actually has the highest heading success rate? Christian Norgard. You know who actually has the highest
Box to
tackle
box,
success rate? Is Christian Norgard. It's like, dude.
box to box presence.
It's
You
like,
know,
dude, I
so
don't care. They never have the ball, so he's always having to make tackles and shit. So yeah, I bet he does have the most duels. And like, he's a fine player. And if Arsenal brought him in, I'd start dick eating. But it's like, dude, just give it a rest. Like, he's not better than those players. And the reason I know, I had this argument with your boy Don Watts, all right, who we had on the pod. It's like, dude,
not my boy.
these clubs don't just get together and be like, hey, nobody signed this guy just for
Yeah,
no
yeah,
reason. It's like
yeah.
if they would have wanted to sign him, then they would sign him. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, exactly. I have two people that kind of go along with it, and both of them it's playing out kind of exactly to your point. Playing out exactly to your point. One, João Palhinha to Bayern. That was one where it was like, oh my
he was
god,
linked for like
like
18 months to them too.
defensive ace. Like this dude is crazy. He could be a six for any team that needs a six. Because let's be honest, like a lot. If you're at a big club, number six is probably one of the most important positions because it can kind of dictate how attacking you can play. In a lot of when if you're playing a more traditional 4-3-3 type,
If you really
obviously.
like defending with three, like two center
Right.
backs and a DM.
Right, exactly. So, and then he goes to a big club, and it's like now all of a sudden they're starting Kimmich and now all of a sudden the Kimmich Goretzka pairing is back together for the 20th time.
Goretzka.
So, yeah, no, right. And then the other guy who was the well, I'll just say him, Ismail Lassar. When
Hey
that dude was
man.
at Watford,
Hey man.
dude, when he was at Watford, it was like, bro. Like I'm not
United.
even shit. I was
PSG.
just gonna. I was gonna say those two clubs, and it's like now if you said like, hey, 3 years ago Ismail Lassar was linked to United and PSG, you'd be like, get the fuck out of here.
No, I
But
would
it's
just
like
love
true.
for someone to watch a Palace game, not the one from today because he was actually good, but just any
Yeah,
Palace game. Be like, hey, 3 years ago, one of these guys was linked with literally the biggest clubs in the world. Which one was it? He would
yeah,
probably be like fifth.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So a lot of evidence going towards your point. I agree with it for the most part. Um, all that being said, I think Eze would actually make more sense at a bigger club.
But he's secretly like 27, which we talk about
Yeah.
all the time. Like he's
Yep.
kind of him and Elise kind of became like twins for some reason. And Elise was like legitimately 21, and Eze was just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
secretly 27. And people are like, "Oh yeah, he could still get that move." It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's coming anytime soon. One of the ones that me and Don actually kind of disagreed hard about was Emi Martinez because I was like, dude, if he was really that good, then he wouldn't be playing for Villa. And he was like, well, da 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 da. I'm like, no, like people don't just get together and be like, hey, goalkeeper. I mean, think of the goalkeeper situations for a lot of the clubs. Like the Inter goalkeeper situation has been in flux So, Anana left, and then they had Sommer, and I mean, even way back, when they were still moving out of
Handanovic.
Handanovic and stuff
Yeah,
like that. It's like, why couldn't, a club like that who was winning the
yeah,
league and stuff like that be like, oh, well, Emi Martinez.
yeah. No, that's
This
and
dude,
that's
this dude
honestly.
Manuel Neuer's $1 million too. So
Yeah, and I actually saw some stuff where it looked like he's actually going to be offered a contract extension as well. So
that's great.
that's classic Bayern. But that goes to show, like Bayern for whatever reason do not know what they're doing for like the past 24 months. Like they just, I mean, the people who were in charge aren't in charge, and then when they stopped being in charge, everyone was like, "Hooray!" And then they got new people in, and it's like, "Oh, these guys are actually worse than." Who was the duo they had that was running it?
Rumenega?
No, this was well, Rumenigge's kind of been in and out like for like 20 something years, so I don't even count him, but like it was Oliver Kahn
Oh yeah.
and Sally Hamisic, I
Hmm.
think is how you say it. Um, the Bras was his nickname. It was them two running it, and it was like they were a disaster. And then they got fired, and they've just been even worse. So I
That's
don't know. I feel
class.
like I could do a full hour on Bayern the last 5 years solo, but
Dude, we might have to have another specialty episode here soon about rebuilding a club or like what the hell is this club even doing?
wouldn't even be rebuilding because I mean they are first in the Bundesliga now, and they've actually looked better this season,
You know
even
why?
though they are. Uh, I don't.
Manager.
Yeah, yeah, the dude who got relegated. Uh, but yeah, we don't need to do a full Bayern episode. But I'm just saying, if you're ever ready to, I'm ready. I'm ready. So I think this is kind of bringing this segment to a halt. I'm
Hmm.
gonna move on to our last topic of the day, and that is going to be a check-in on our QB stock price. Yep. Ethan's taking a victory lap. He deserves it so far. He deserves it. We'll get the headline out of the way right now. Ethan's kicking my ass. The cumulative total from, and the way we're tracking this is from the time you pick the guy up to now, what is the price? What is their stock price? Ethan's four guys who he stuck with the whole season are up 774 points, I guess we'll call it. The group that I've had with the 4/5 ish guys, because you got to count the Rogers time, unfortunately, while he was with me. I'm still up 56 points on the season, but when you're comparing it to 700 plus, then not a great start for me, or not a great spot for me. Ethan, why don't you go take a victory lap, give a speech, and let us know how you're feeling.
I think it's just more indicative of my football knowledge, as we haven't brought this really up on the podcast, but did go 12-2 in the regular season in fantasy. I didn't
Yeah,
even know that we had a bye in the playoffs for our league, but
yeah.
secured the bye. Really, no big deal for a motherfucker like me, but you know, just more indicative of everything. More than just a flash in the pan.
Yeah, I will say I went with the 16 playoff. I tried to do the college football plus some. I did the 16 playoff out of 10 teams. I know a lot of, diehard fantasy people in the comments will be like, that's bullshit. 14 playoff or nothing. 16, that's Gen X culture, blah, blah, blah. But I felt like it was going to keep people invested slightly more. And I think it did its job for the regular season. There were a couple of franchises who just weren't going to cut it no matter what, but now we've got the sixth best. I was able to get in there by the skin of my teeth with a week 14 victory against your boy Bryce Fail. So,
Yeah,
um,
he is actually going to prison for the things that he did in that. I mean, I think he ended the week with like 50.
yeah, he started two guys. He started three guys who didn't even play. So I was feeling
Mind
good
you,
there.
this matchup that Chad's talking about, literally there was one
It
playoff
was
spot
for the playoff
up for
spot. Yeah.
grabs, and it was between these two guys, and this jackass decided to
Yeah.
start two or three guys that were on buys. I think it was a hurt
It
guy
was,
and two guys that were on buys.
I think it might be the other way around. Actually, I think it was two hurt guys and one guy who was on a bye. So
Either
yeah,
way, it was a crime.
yeah, it was classic. It was like Chargers Raiders a couple years ago, where it was like last game of the season, playoff spot on the line, there's a scenario where one can get it, and then it was like two, and then it was like, oh no, this one team's gonna just lose the game for them. They're
That
gonna
was
let them
class.
decide for them.
That was class.
So yeah, that was crazy as hell looking back on it. But
But so okay, so what? So you right now, right, have have Burrow, T. Law, Kyler, and Stafford, correct?
yes, yep, that is my four. That is my starting four right now.
So, I mean T. Law. Um, which one is it like? You feel like you're not wrong, but the stock price doesn't fit, if that makes
Uh,
sense.
that's a perfect question because I swear to you, that's the first thing I have written down is whose price least reflects their performance this season. That's why we're connecting. We're connecting right there. Burrow. I think Burrow has truly been a top five quarterback this season from a performance and statistical resume. Um, the thing is, the Bengals defense has literally been atrocious this entire season. Been atrocious, and that leads to them being 5-8. And this dude has the third highest QBR or second highest QBR in the whole NFL. So I feel like that right there, the evidence is right there, right? I think Burrow's had a really good season. The team has been horrible, leads to him having a below average stock price. So,
Do you?
you know,
Okay, so I know this is about the QB stock game, but I kind of wanted to use it as a sort of overall topic.
no.
What do you think the top? If I just say tier one quarterbacks in the NFL, what does that mean to you right now?
It's a really good question. The only guys that I would say are in that right now: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow's in there for me, and God, I mean, I might honestly be done right there. I might be done with my tier one right there, and I know they're going to be, the Lamar haters or the Lamar lovers are going to be in the comments saying, "Oh, Lamar, he's got two MVPs, da da da." He has the same playoff resume as Dak Prescott, who's a guy who would never be even thought of as a tier one type of performer.
And
But he
honestly,
has,
probably similar regular season resumes because Dak has historically
yeah,
done very, very
statistically,
good in the
yeah,
regular season, and regular season success has also pretty much matched up. Really, the only
yeah,
seasons that Dak hasn't done well is when he broke the shit out of his ankle, and then this year. So
yeah. So all of that to say, I think I would feel really confident having those three in my tier one. But then when you get into that tier two, I think is where it's probably a much bigger tier. You're probably
mhm.
looking at more like probably 6 to 7 quarterbacks in that tier two.
Yeah, you're thinking
Um,
like Aiden O'Connell
yeah,
types. Hey, I'm still in on O'Connell. Not like in as in like an actual good player, but like he's
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 gonna look good holding the clipboard. Like, what are you talking about? I'm in on
he's gonna
O'Connell.
start 17 games in an NFL season 1 year. I promise. I promise you, he's going to. No, no. Oh,
Uh,
hold on. Best case
yeah,
scenario for Aiden O'Connell is he has
he's not gonna be Glennon.
like a
He's not
Case
gonna be Glennon.
Keenum like
Oh wow.
season where it's like they go. He plays for a really good team that goes 9-8, and everyone's kind of like, man, this dude's actually pretty decent. Accidentally wins a playoff game, but then how he's going to supersede Case Keenum is he's going to get like a big ass contract. And then
Yeah.
literally go right back, like from another team, not the team that he has the
Yeah, yeah,
success
yeah.
with. Like another team's gonna be like, oh shit, Aiden O'Connell, he finally figured it out, and then he's never gonna win a game ever again.
Yeah. By the way, that 9-8 that you had Minnesota at, I'm pretty sure they were 12-4 that year. So, but I can't disagree stronger with that statement. But I do think O'Connell.
He's not the worst quarterback in the league. I'll just say that.
No, 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 no. I mean, definitely, I definitely wouldn't say he's been the worst guy to start a game this year, or start multiple games at all. I do want to hit on just the overall number standpoint. The fact that there have been 44 guys, because I did guys who have started at least 3 games or more.
Damn.
The fact that we've got 44 guys who have started at least 3 games this season at the quarterback position, and that's going to go even higher because Drew Lock started 2 so far, and he's going to get that third start. I think this week for the Giants, or at least some point.
My boy.
Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. 0-2 so far, but no big deal.
Well, it's hard
Um,
when you play Dallas on in your first start, man. That's a hard
hey,
game.
hey, man, that's a tough road environment. Just ask Chase.
I like the seventh spot too, being occupied by my boy Malik Willis, who threw for about 200 yards in his first three career
Yeah,
starts
yeah,
total.
exactly. Malik, yeah, yeah, not a game, yeah, not per game. Malik is he's up for comeback player of the year for the QB stock game awards. I gotta say he's been shockingly, well, I mean not shockingly because he literally came in, had 2 games, and was awesome in those 2 games. But Green Bay just did an amazing job of protecting the hell out of him from making any actual football decisions in those games. So good for them. I do want to give a quick shout out to Stafford, who's made this not completely embarrassing on my team's behalf. Uh, Had a huge jump up, is up 73 points from when we made the change in week 7. So I'm just saying, man, really good Matt Stafford, and the Rams have actually been good to the point where people are talking about that they don't want to see him in the playoffs. I'm
I
just
definitely don't
saying.
want to see them in the playoff, or not me personally, because I'm not going to see shit in the playoffs with the Cowboys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I definitely would not want to see them in the playoffs. However,
Uh oh. Zag is coming.
I would love with all my heart for them to beat the Eagles in the
Eagles,
first
yeah,
round. Like
100%.
in the well, yeah, in the first round because I think the Lions are probably going to get that 1 seed bye, and so like that 2-7 game
Yeah,
between those two, I really like the Rams in that game if it came down to that.
that'll be solid. AJ Brown would request a trade at halftime, no matter what. Um, I mean that dude. I could do another hour on just receivers just
Bit
bitching for
hit
no
him and
reason.
Addison are gonna highlight the segment.
Well, I mean, Stephon Diggs would be commentating over the whole thing because he's the king of it. But yeah, it's just like, hey, we got a star receiver. Hey, he's gone 3 pass plays without seeing the ball, and now all of a sudden he's requesting a trade.
I
So
like this
it's
one better. Hey, we have probably the best guy in his position on our team, and we've won every single game. Yeah, I'm fucking pissed off.
yeah, yes,
And then, I mean, literally the same shit with Addison. It's like, yeah, I know we have 10 wins already, and Justin Jefferson might be the best receiver in the whole
best player.
league, but
Yeah,
screw that guy. I need the ball more. It's like, what the hell are we doing, bro?
dude is stupid. Dude is stupid. So, but maybe that selfishness is what you need to be good at the position. So I don't know. I'm not a pro athlete, so I can't judge. Um, Maybe for you, a question about one of your guys, probably your biggest riser since the last time, and that'd be Bryce Young. Do you think he's played well enough to warrant getting a chance to be the starter next season for the whole
So,
season? Not, I'm not saying start the first 2 and then he's on a short leash. I mean legitimately, like, hey, you're going to get 8 to 10 starts unless this literally goes to hell, at
it's
least.
yes for this one reason is that based on how he and the team are playing right now, they're not going to get a high enough pick to justify the other way. Like they're not going to get like a top 3 pick and be like, "Well, we just drafted a quarterback top 3. We just drafted one of the best." Well, sorry, for 3 reasons. One, they're not going to be bad enough to justify like, "Oh, we definitely need to make a quarterback change right this second." Two, this
Okay.
quarterback class is ass, like beyond ass.
Yeah. I
And
think that's
so
probably the
and so there's
biggest
not
driver.
anyone that's going to really be like, oh shit, we got to sit him down so that Carson Beck can get some throws, stuff like that. And then also 3, I think that teams love to be overly loyal to players that they drafted. And so
Yes, that's a great point.
until he has another season. Wait, so he's on to this right now, and even if they end up like 6-11, they'll still be like, okay, well, he's definitely gotten better. Let's see if this whole thing can kind of go, to somewhere new. And unless someone is really aggressively like available, I guess that's proven, like super proven. and I don't
Yeah.
think that guy exists. Like again, I'm just looking at this stock game list. It's like you're obviously not going to get guys like Mahomes, Goff. The only guy that I see that
Darnold.
maybe is Darnold because
Well, he was already there though. I don't know if they would try and bring him back.
well, that's what I mean. So even that, like Darnold might be available this summer, depending on how the Vikings do in the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, even a guy like a Malik Willis, who we were kind of joking about, like that could be a guy that they could look at and be like, well, shit, he came in there because they're stupid as hell in Carolina, and they'd be like, oh, I don't know, he came in, he had 3 games, he was really good, and we haven't seen Bryce do anything like that. And it's like shit, and then they give him like 4 years, 100 million or something like that. So I wouldn't be shocked if they did that, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. I guess. I mean, even if you look down here, guys like Mason Rudolph, like, would they take a chance on him?
Nah. I think they're
Cooper Rush, do they have draft capital they want to give us?
Hey man, he's got a better winning percentage than Dak this year. I think I saw Seth.
This jackass, literally, we were on the Panthers like 15-20 yard line with like 30 seconds left in the first half. This jackass tries to run an RPO, drops the fucking football. They pick it up, and literally the first play from scrimmage, the next play,
Touchdown.
like 80-yard touchdown. So we went from going up either 17 or 21-0 to literally, or sorry, either 13 or 17-0 to it being 10-7 at halftime. So I was like, appreciate that, Cooper. He's just literally the least athletic player in the entire NFL.
Yeah, he is. He is. I do gotta say, I think you might have had for Jacksonville Carolina, when you say they might not have a good enough pick, they're sitting at the 4 spot right now, right?
I think they're going to win games because they're kind of at the. I mean, if I'm looking at their.
Well, they're not going to win this one. They're going to be at 3-11.
So they have a very high chance of winning today, and then it's the last 3 are home against Cardinals, at Bucks, and then at Falcons. Like at Falcons, I feel like is like a guaranteed. We hate this franchise, so we're going to win. Bucks, I don't feel great about, but it could go either way, and I just feel like they're going to beat Carolina or the Cardinals at home. Although them then going down 24-7 to the Cowboys is now making me not feel amazing about them.
I'm telling you, I feel like the Panthers have gotten this like momentum, this like national momentum.
And they've secretly only won 2 games the whole time.
Well, and then people look up and it's like, well, they're 3-10, and people are like, kind of saying what you said, and I'm not shitting on you for saying it because I mean I think, like, I actually agree with you in the sense that could they compete? Like here's NFC South teams I've just given up on, so like any of them could beat any of the other ones on any given day. So that's where you're always going to have a chance to get to it. And then Arizona for about 4 years has been the king of we're supposed to win this game, but we'll just lose it for the hell of it.
But also, like, if you're within that front office, you can really look around and be like, it really only takes us going 8-1 to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
So it's like you're telling me that we can't get 8 wins in a draw with fucking with Bryce Young? Like that's how I feel like they might look around and kind of say that and be like, you know what? We only really need to win 9 games to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it brings up a great point that I think not enough people really recognize is when teams evaluate themselves, they really heavily
look at their division.
Put a lot of emphasis on, hey, where are we in comparison with our division? Mm-hmm. So I don't think a team would do something where it's like, hey, we only need to win 9 games to win the division, so we're only going to build a 9-win team. But I could see between what you're saying about the divisional emphasis and the fact of when people make a mistake, they don't like admitting it. They do not like admitting it.
Especially number 1 pick overall.
Right, and a guy who you traded up to get too. Like
yeah.
you traded a first the following year to get, to get a guy who's you're considering not bringing back into his 3rd season, which is not great. So I don't know. It's a great question. I have no idea. I'd love to see how the Bryce Young story continues in Carolina, though, because there was a point where it was like I actually felt bad for him, even though I'm not a fan of him. now I'm to the point where I'm like, all right, now you can just kind of be judged fairly as like you can either laugh at him if he's a bust, or you can, get behind him if he kind of turns it around.
Because like I'm even looking at this mock draft on PFF, and like their highest rated quarterback going into the draft is Jalen Milroe, who's uh, projected to
Not
be
good.
the twelfth like overall player. And then you get
Hmm.
into guys like Cam Ward and Shador, and like guys that would probably be fine and might be able to be NFL quarterbacks. But it's like, why would I give like we were kind of saying, why would we give up on this guy for a guy that's we don't
Yeah.
know for sure is going to be elite?
Yeah, we'd be giving up on a guy who has not shown that he's the answer, but I don't think is a definitive not the answer. Versus going with another guy who, and look, there's just plenty of evidence taking a QB in the first round 50-50 at best.
Yep.
Like it's not like we're getting a guy who is going to, even if you have a guy who at the time is considered a guaranteed prospect, that's still not, like that's still a 50-50 chance at best. I mean, look at Bryce Young and Caleb Williams. The past 2 years, like both of them have been considered. Oh my God, gotta get this guy. Any team would be lucky to build their franchise around him. Blah blah blah. And I think Caleb Williams will be okay, or will be better than what he's been so far. But neither one of those guys. I mean, shit. Bryce Young, we're talking about, is even going to be on the damn team, and Caleb Williams has not had a good rookie year at all.
Well, he's
So
coming into the best situation of any first overall pick since Troy
yeah,
Aikman. So
that was fucking stupid whenever that stuff was going around. And it goes back to the thing where people only look at the fantasy football aspect, where it's like, hey, shit, they spent money on a guy and then they drafted another guy. Shit, the situation must be amazing. It's like, dude, you need a fucking football team. You need an offensive line. You need someone at the line of scrimmage to dominate it for you. That's where games are won.
and you need
Not
Robbie
on fucking
Anderson.
7-on-7.
You need Robbie Anderson to catch 3 passes for you. That's what you really need.
Chosen, you mean? Chosen Anderson.
Is that his
You
name?
almost, yeah, that's his actual name now, which might honestly be better than Meta World Amnesty.
Oh my God, dude! Are you?
Yeah,
Oh Jesus! I mean, his hair is in top form
100%.
right
I'm,
now.
I think it's still
It's
chosen.
what
I
it
mean,
says. Yeah.
yeah,
God.
yeah. He had a tough run. He had a tough
Well, he
run,
was good
Robbie.
this year. Um, two
Maybe he was.
games, 1 catch for 5 yards.
Was this on Miami? I don't even
Yeah,
know
this
who
is
he's
on
playing on.
Miami.
Really?
But
God.
they've been releasing all their damn receivers. They
Odell.
released him and Odell's ass.
Yeah, Odell. I'll give Ryder credit on this one. As soon as they signed Odell, he wasn't even remotely close to interested.
Well, I like how they didn't even release Tyreek Hill. They're just like, we're not giving you the ball. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, they
respect
just
that from them.
four targets. Take it or leave it. All right, I think that's going to pretty much wrap up the QB stock check-in. Ethan, I'm sure you're not thinking about making any movement. Trying to probably keep it the way it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it the way it is. I'm projecting probably 2 more wins for Bryce Young, who's I guess my bottom feeder technically, and then my other guys, Love, Herbert, and Mahomes. They're kind of, I mean, Herbert, shit, probably gonna win a couple more games too.
Oh yeah.
Probably guaranteed to get in the playoffs, so definitely feeling good about those guys. So who are you getting to replace T Law?
God, because I'm pretty sure. I mean, I would find it hard to believe he's going to play again this season.
Exactly.
So, fuck. I mean, I might as well drop him.
So just while Chad's thinking, I'll kind of give a little. The reason
Yeah,
that it's
yeah.
kind of hard because you need someone. No, Diddy is that you have to find a guy that's doing well this season. You think is going to continue to do well, but also was ass last year, and so it's like it's someone that has
No.
a low enough stock. Oh, it's from right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the part that's tricky. Is it's from right now.
Yeah, so if
So
we're
a
looking
guy
near the
who's-
bottom, like from
Yeah.
from 33rd down, it's Rodgers, T. Law, Mac Jones, Dalton, Daniel Jones, Huntley, Minshew, Brissett, Rattler, O'Connell, Levis, Watson. Obviously, I'd go O'Connell, but like none of those guys that are like bottom feeder guys, you're like they're definitely going to turn it around and start winning games and playing really well. I mean, the guy. If I were to give some
I think I
advice,
might-
would be like Baker,
I think-
I guess. Because he's fairly low, but I think they might win 2 more games.
Uh, yeah, I was actually thinking. Well, shit, never mind. I
Famous
was I was I was actually thinking Levis because for the Bryce Young
corollary.
corollary. But the problem is I just checked in on them. They're losing to the Bengals 31-14, and Levis is 8 of 12. This is midway through the third quarter of an NFL game, by the way. He's 8 of 12 for 89 yards and 3 picks. So probably not picking up Levis.
Oh my god.
Um, you know what?
You know what?
Shit.
Just do it. It can't get worse. Just think about that. You're losing by 700 points.
Um, you know what? I'm gonna do something for my friend Johnny. I'm actually gonna pick up Tua. I'm gonna pick up Tua for the last 4 games of the
That's a
season.
good durability pick.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm hoping that if they're shit, then maybe it's like he only plays one more game, and we only got to throw one more L on there.
Oh, damn.
All right, so Tua added week 15, and that's as you said, dropped for Trevor Lawrence, who's probably not going to play again this season. So, all right, feeling good.
So now
feeling
you got Burrow, Kyler,
good.
Stafford, and you just added your boy Tua,
Yep, Tua.
which is
Yep.
incredible. That's an incredible lineup right there.
Yeah, it is, but you know what? We're going to go down fighting with some dignity. All right, it's going to be like the Memphis Grizzlies roster in 2020, in 2018, where no one knows who's on the team, but the guys out there are playing hard. So
Love that.
that's all I got for you.
Love that. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode today. Got a little bit of college football talk in, decent amount of Prem in, and then some decent amount of NFL in. Doing it through the context of the QB stock game, but we kind of bounced around some topics, talked about some different team situations and things like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let us know what kind of topics that you guys would want us to talk about. Do you guys like the more specialty episodes where we kind of just talk about one topic through different lenses, or do you like it when we kind of have these multi-topic talking point type of episodes? Please let us know. Thank you for joining us, and we guys will see you in episode 19, the Leo Trossard episode.